Hello, welcome back to the Math 050 notes. This is a section over 10.6. We're going to be doing some special products here, and we're going to kind of notice some patterns when it comes to multiplying some binomials together. So we're going to, and some of this wants us to do this mentally, and what we're going to do is we're going to kind of show you how some of these things work and then see how we can just kind of recognize these without actually doing the math. So what I want to jump in and do is multiply these two binomials here using FOIL or box method. So let's go in and I'm going to write this out two different ways here. I'm going to do x plus 2 and then x minus 2. Okay, and what I'm going to do here, I'm first going to do the FOIL method. So I'm going to do x times x, which is going to give me x squared. Okay, I'm going to do the outside method, or outside term, so negative 2x. I'm going to do my inside term, so plus 2x. And then my last terms are going to be minus 4. Okay, so when I take these, now what I notice here is that I'm taking x plus 2 and then I'm multiplying it by x minus 2. So these are opposites, okay? And what I notice about these is that my middle terms, which gives me negative 2x and positive 2x, this is going to add to 0. So these are going to actually cancel out and add to 0. All right, so then as a result, what we get is this. We get x squared minus 4, and that's it. Now, what I also want to notice here, if we do this, let's do it using the box method, and so we'll get the same thing. So it doesn't matter which way you do it, guys. I just want to make sure that you do it one of the ways. So I'm going to do x minus 2, x plus 2. X times x is going to give me x squared. Negative 2 times x is negative 2x. 2 times x is positive 2x, and then 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. So when I add these together, my middle terms here, these are going to add to 0. So they add to 0. And what we get as a result, like we did in the other one, we're just going to get x squared minus 4. Now what I notice about this is that when I look at my first term here, okay, x, okay, in my value here, we're just taking x and we're squaring it, okay? When I look at and that's my term here and here, okay, those are the same. What I notice here is that I have a 2, and this is 2 as well, okay? So if they're both 2 and they're opposites, then what's going to happen is we're going to get minus, and this is going to be 2 squared. Okay, and so that's what happens. Now what I want to do is I want to do this again over here and see if we get something similar, okay? So I'm just going to go ahead and do the box method here on this one. So I'm going to draw my box, and I'm going to do 3x minus 5, and this is going to be 3x plus 5, okay? So if I do 3x times 3x, it's going to 3 times 3 is 9, so we get 9, and then x times x is x squared. Okay, if I do 3x times negative 5, that's going to give me negative 15x. Okay, if I do 3x times positive 5, that's going to give me positive 15x. Okay, and then if I do 5 times negative 5, it's going to give me minus 25. Okay, now when I add my terms up here, okay, these, since they're opposites, they're going to add to 0. All right, so what we get as a result, okay, in the end is we get this answer of 9x squared and then minus 25. Now what I'm noticing about this, I want you to look at the first term here, 3x and 3x. Now if I take that term here and I square it, okay, if I just take the quantity 3x and square it, okay, and let me do that up here, 3x quantity squared, that's going to make it 9 times x squared, okay, which is what we got here. Now, on the last part, 25, look at your last term in each of these binomials. They're 5s. So those numbers, okay, if I take 5 and I square it, would give me 25. So what I'm getting here is I'm seeing this pattern when I multiply the sum and difference of two terms, okay? And so we have, and over here I want you to write that this is the difference of squares, okay? So if we multiply, and let's just do this. This is just a generic thing to do. So I'm going to do a plus b times a minus b, okay? And if I were to multiply this out, and this is the same thing as what we have here. Now, this is just kind of a generic formula for something like this. But if I multiply this out and FOIL it out, what I will get as a result is that this is going to give me a squared minus b squared, okay? And so I'm going to use this formula to help me kind of use mental math over here, okay? So if I wanted to use mental math, all right, on this one, you know, using the concept, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write this out again over here, that if I have a plus b times a minus b, that's going to give me a squared minus b squared, okay? So as a result, you know, if I think about this, this value here, these are the same. This is my a value, okay? And over here, this is my b value, all right? So if I notice that I have that, if I have, you know, a number plus another number, okay, and then that same number minus that same number, then what I can automatically do is I can just plug this into the formula and call this x squared minus 8 squared, okay, which would then turn out to give me x squared minus 64. Now, if I did the box method on this and just multiplied it out, and you can always do that, but there are some quicker ways to do this if you recognize the pattern. Okay, so I have x plus 8 and I have x minus 8. Okay, if I do x times x, that's x squared. X times 8x, or 8 is just going to give me 8x. Negative 8 times x is negative 8x, and then negative 8 times 8 is negative 64. So if I add my terms here in the middle, okay, those are going to add to 0. All right, so what I'm looking for here is, as my answer, is this, what I have left over, x squared minus 64, and that's what I have here. Okay, so that's my answer. So if you want to do it using the formula, you can. If you want to use the box method, you can do that as well. Now I'm over here, I'm just going to do, you know, my formula. All right, I'm going to call this 6, 6. This is my a value. All right, and I notice that I'm subtracting 4y here and adding 4y here, so I'm going to call that my b value. So here's my b value. Okay, so using this formula of a plus b times a minus b, and that would give me, again, a squared minus b squared, all right, what I want to do, all right, is take my value for a, all right, which is going to give me a 6. So I'm going to do a 6 squared, and then minus the quantity 4y squared. Okay, now 6 squared is going to give me 36, okay? 4y squared, 4 squared is going to give me 16, and then y squared is just going to give me y squared, okay? And we're going to put a minus symbol in between. So that's it. That's my answer. Okay, now again, if you want to do the box method, we can, all right? And so let's do that here real quick. All right, I'm going to do 6 minus 4y. I'm going to do 6 plus 4y. 6 times 6 is 36. 6 times negative 4y is negative 24y. Okay, 6 times 4y is positive 24y. 4y times negative 4y is minus 16y squared. Okay, my terms here that I need to combine are going to add to 0. All right, and so as a result, what we're going to get is 36 minus 16y squared, and that's what we got over here. Okay, so either way, it doesn't matter what you do, but that's a pattern that you should notice. And if I were you, you know, whenever I see those, I get really excited because I know they're pretty easy to do and they're kind of fun to do. So, all right, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. On this, what we're doing here is we're going to square a binomial. So, when I have the quantity, x plus 3 quantity squared, this does not mean, so do not do this, all right? I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Okay, do not do this, all right? And what this means is that this would just become x squared plus 3 squared. No, does not work, okay? You can't do that. All right, and here's why. Because when I take something and I square it, and then let's just think of something, what happens when you square something. If I take, say, 3 squared, that means that I'm multiplying 3 by itself 2 times, okay? Now, when I'm taking a binomial and squaring it, what I'm really doing here is I'm taking this, all right, and I'm going to do x plus 3 times x plus 3, okay? And I need to multiply that out. Okay, so when I multiply that out, all right, and I'm going to use the box method here. All right, if I've got x and then plus 3, x and then plus 3, then we get x times x, which is going to give me x squared. 3 times x is 3x. Okay, 3 times x here is 3x, and then 3 times 3 is 9. Okay, so when I add these two together, okay, that's going to give me 6x. So my answer is x squared plus 6x plus 9, okay? And I want you to notice something, okay? I want you to notice that, when I take this, my numbers here, I've got my first term, which is my x, is squared. My middle term, I added the 3's together, okay, to give me 6. And then on the last term, I multiplied my 3's together to get 9. All right, so I want you to kind of notice that pattern here. All right, so if I were to do this, 2x plus 5 quantity squared, remember this is just going to be 2x plus 5 times 2x plus 5. Okay, if I do the box method on this, okay, I've got 2x plus 5, and this is 2x plus 5. So 2x times 2x, that's going to give me 4x squared. Okay, if I do 2x times 5, that's going to give me 10x. Okay, again over here, if I do 5 times 2x, it's going to give me 10x. And then if I do 5 times 5, that's going to give me 25 down here. Okay. And so if I combine my middle terms, the 10x and 10x, it's going to give me 20x. So my answer is going to give me 4x squared plus 20x plus 25. Now what this does is this follows, and let's just call this squaring a binomial. Okay, let's write a formula for this. So we are square a binomial. All right. Let's say I take a plus b and I square it, okay, and just kind of have a generic formula. Remember what this is. This is going to give me a plus b times a plus b, okay. If I multiply all of this out, and I'm going to use the box method on this, a plus b, okay, so a times a is a squared, a times b is ab, a times b is ab over here, and then b times b is b squared. So if I add these together in the middle, okay, this is going to give me 2ab. So if I multiply, squaring a binomial, as a, kind of like a formula, to get a formula out of this, what I'm going to do is get a squared plus 2ab plus b squared, all right? And you can memorize this if you want. Now, typically what I do is I just multiply it out using the box method, but there is a formula for it. All right, and so what I want to do is I want to do x plus 8 times x plus 8. Now, I kind of want to think about my mental math here. Okay, so if I know my formula, where if I do a plus b squared, it's going to give me a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. All right, so if this is my a value here and here, and this is my b value here and here, okay, what I can automatically do is I can just plug it into this formula, and that's going to give me a squared, which is x squared, plus 2 times ab. So I'm going to do 2 times 8 times x, so plus 2 times 8 times x, and then plus 8 squared, okay? If I simplify this, this is going to give me x squared plus 16x plus 64. All right, and that's my answer. Now we can check this using the box method. All right, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to do x plus 8, and so x times x is x squared, 8 times x is 8x, 8 times x is 8x, and then 8 times 8 is 64. Combine my middle terms, and what I end up getting is I get x squared plus 16x plus 64, which is the same thing that I got here, okay? So it doesn't matter which way you do it. I don't care as long as you get it right, okay? So there's just trying to give you as many options as you can to choose which one you like best, all right? Let's take a look at this one, this last one over here. I've got x minus 8 times, or I'm sorry, x minus 5 times x minus 5, okay? Remember our formula, a plus b squared, and that's going to give me a squared plus 2ab plus b squared, okay? Now on this one, what I notice is that my a value is x, let's call that a, and negative 5 is my b value here. All right, so if I plug that in, all right, what I'm going to get is I'm going to get x squared. So we get x squared plus 2 times my a value, which is x, times negative 5, okay, and then plus b squared, which is going to give me negative 5 squared. Now we're dealing with some negatives here, so it does get a little tricky, but my first term is going to be x squared. Okay, if I do 2 times negative 5, that's going to give me negative 10 and then x. And then if I take negative 5 and square it, that's going to give me plus 25. So notice what I get. Okay, I get x squared minus 10x plus 25. All right, let's do the box method on this and see if we get the same thing. Okay, so here's my box. I'm going to do x minus 5. Here I'm going to do x minus 5. So I've got x times x is going to give me x squared. If I do x times negative 5, I'm going to get minus 5x. Okay, if I do x times negative 5, it's going to give me negative 5x. And then if I do negative 5 times negative 5, it's going to give me positive 25. All right. If I add my middle terms here, it's going to give me negative 10x. All right. So as a result, when I add all these up, I'm going to get x squared minus 10x plus 25, which is the same thing that I got here. All right. So it doesn't matter what you do, but there are some formulas. There are some patterns to this when you multiply these out. So go ahead and get started on your homework on this, and we'll see you soon. Thanks a lot. Bye.